This news blast is brought to you by Qberg, Pittsburgh's source for LGBTQ+ news and community information. Learn more about Qberg by visiting their website, qberg.com. That's QBURGH.com. From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the news for the evening of March 13th, 2025. Accessible, activism, activists, advocacy, advocate, affirming care, anti-racist, assigned at birth, assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth, biases, BIPOC, Black, climate crisis, climate science, community diversity, community equity, DEI, DEIA, disability, disabilities, discriminated, discrimination, diverse group, diverse community, equal opportunity, equality, equity, female, females, gender diversity, gender identity, Gulf of Mexico, hate speech, identity, Hispanic minority, implicit bias, inclusion, immigrant, inequality, indigenous community, key people, key groups, intersectional, institutional, LGBTQ, marginalized, men who have sex with men, mental health, minorities, Native American, non-binary, people plus uterus, political, pollution, pregnant people, privileges, pronoun, pronouns, race, racial, racial identity, sex, sexual preferences, sexuality, socioeconomic, social justice, status, stereotype. Folks, this is just a partial list. I'll explain in a moment. As President Trump seeks to purge the federal government of woke initiatives, agencies have flagged hundreds of words to limit or avoid, according to a compilation of government documents. The list of terms appeared in government memos, in official and unofficial agency guidance, and in other documents viewed by the New York Times. Some ordered the removal of these words from public-facing websites or ordered the elimination of other materials, including school curricula in which they might be included. In other cases, federal agency managers advised caution in the term's usage without instituting an outright ban. Additionally, the presence of some terms was used to automatically flag for review some grant proposals and contracts that could conflict with Mr. Trump's executive orders. The list is most likely incomplete. Now, all presidential administrations change the language used in official communications to reflect their own policies. It is within their prerogative, as are amendments to or the removal of web pages, which the Times has found has already happened thousands of times in this administration. Still, the words and phrases listed here represent a marked and remarkable shift in the corpus of language being used both in the federal government's corridors of power and among its rank and file. They are an unmistakable reflection of this administration's priorities. For example, the Trump administration has frequently framed diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts as being inherently at odds with what it has identified as merit, and it has argued that these initiatives have resulted in the elevation of unqualified or undeserving people. That rhetorical strategy, with its baked-in assumption of a lack of capacity in people of color, women, the disabled, the LGBTQ+ community, and other marginalized groups, has been criticized as discriminatory. Indeed, in some cases, guidance against the term's usage has arrived alongside directives intended to eliminate the concept itself. Federal diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are one example. The Gulf of Mexico is a very different one. That shift is already apparent on hundreds of federal government websites. A New York Times analysis of pages of federal agency websites before and after Mr. Trump took office found that more than 250 contained evidence of deletions or amendments to words included in this very lengthy list. The total number of web pages identified by the New York Times as having changed is an undercount. The analysis involved searching for changes on more than 5,000 total pages, but it did not capture the entire universe of the federal government's web presence. In addition, the pages were captured for comparison in early February, and more changes may have been made between then and now. The president and some of his closest advisors, including Elon Musk, have frequently portrayed themselves as champions of free speech. One of the executive orders Mr. Trump signed on his first day back in office decried what it described as a pressure campaign by the Biden administration to stifle First Amendment rights in a manner that advanced the government's preferred narrative about significant matters of public debate by way of putting pressure on tech platforms. Government censorship of speech is intolerable in a free society, it continued. Indeed, the office of the presidency carries with it a tremendous power to drive the discourse, but the pattern of vanishing words established in the list suggests Mr. Trump and his administration may be more interested in chilling the national conversation, at least when it comes to their own disfavored topics, than in expanding it. Pennsylvania Equality Project will be posting this article along with the list of words not to be used on the journal page. And again, this is all taken from the New York Times, posting it on the journal page of the website, paequality.com. Full disclosure, neither Pennsylvania Equality Project nor PEP Radio receives federal funding to accomplish their goals. We will not restrict our speech based on some government mandate from the Pumpkin Führer, who has illegally and illegitimately restricted free speech rights in government institutions and within the nonprofit sector. I would remind our listeners, words have multiple meanings. The word black is on the list of words not to be used. The car I drive is black. If I were to describe its color in a governmental report, how do I do that if I cannot use the word black? Clearly, no linguistic people were consulted when this list was drafted. Trump is not making America great again. It never was, and with him in office, it never will be. That's the news at this hour. Download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. Up next is the local forecast for the Meadville area here on PEP Radio.